Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we'll be chatting through the books I bought in September, and let me tell you, there are a lot of books here. So I have my TBR card here that is full of the books I bought during the months of September and October, but today we'll be chatting through the September ones. First up, we have Queen's Peril by A.K. Johnston, which is a Star Wars book. So I never read Star Wars books before, but this was my first hooray into the Star Wars universe with the books, and I was so excited to start with Padme because she is one of my favorite characters in the Star Wars universe. So this talks about a 14-year-old Padme when she is first selected to be the Queen of Naboo, and in this book we are following her navigate through the first days of being a queen and actually creating a community within herself with her maids slash bodyguards. So in this book we are following, I think, 6 girls that are actually bodyguards to the queen, but they also serve as their twins or like someone that can replace Padme if it's needed. So this was actually a nice girl strength, girls being together, girls helping each other out type of book, which I actually enjoyed, and it gives you kind of like a depth to Padme's character because books actually can do that while movies are not that able to do that sometimes. So this was a good example of just having this very much like character and also very much hate character, and then giving her some more depth within the books is something that I really enjoy. And overall I enjoyed this book. I wouldn't say it was like revolutionary or something fantastic. I would actually like it if it went deeper into the subject, but yeah, I don't want to talk more about this book. I don't want this to be turning into a wrap up, but this was the first book I bought. Next up we have Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. This is a book of the month book. I had a subscription with them before because I used to really like book of the month books, but I think I'm realizing that I am not enjoying their selections. I think I skipped more than 4 months back to back, so this is probably gonna be the last book I get from them for a while. But this is the companion novel, I think, to Love Hypothesis, which they all focus on STEM major women and romance. So they're set in a scientific college or universe or lab, so they have this STEM elements in them, but they're also romance books. So I don't know much about this book, to be honest, because I think in this book we have a character called B. Is she called B? Yeah, she's called B. I don't know why she's called B. So B actually gets an offer to work at NASA, and she goes there, but she sees her arch nemesis from, I think, their high school or college years. So he's also there, and this is kind of enemies to lovers, but also actual lovers type of situation. I actually like Love Hypothesis. It was not one of my favorite books ever. I used to not read romance books, but I started reading them, so I enjoyed it. I don't know what to expect from this, to be honest, but I think we'll see. Next up we have The Club by Ellery Lloyd, which is also Reese's book club pick. So as I told before in most of my videos, I generally do not read horrors, thrillers, and mysteries, but recently I kind of feel like I'm in a mood for good whodunit murder mysteries. I'm not sure if this book is gonna be providing that, but I have high hopes because in the synopsis it says, because at this club, if your name is on the list, you're not getting out. So I think in this book we have a club that is glamorous, and members of that club are very famous people, celebrities, all well-known people, and I think they host a party and murder or murders happen. I don't know much about it, and it's actually better that I don't, because I don't want to spoil myself with reading the synopsis and actually getting some clues, but I'm excited to be delving into this book. As someone who actually didn't read romance books just like until last year, it's actually funny that how much I'm reading them right now. And I have Bridgerton series, The Circle of Love. So I have never read any Bridgerton books. I didn't read the first one, the second. I think this is the fifth one. So you will be asking me, why are you starting with the fifth one? And let me tell you, I do not have any intentions of reading the first, second, how many are there? I do not. But I watched the series. I hated the first season. I loved the second season. The second season, the enemies, the lovers, slow burn, just perfect. And in those series, I really like Eloise. I think she is a very fun character, and I think it will be fun to explore what happens to her in the books. I think the book Eloise and the movie Eloise are kind of different, but regardless, I'm very excited to see what happens to her. So I just randomly bought the fifth book. I think this is the fifth book in the series, just so that I can learn Eloise's story. Next up, we have Bunny by Mona Abad. This book, I actually read this book. I think I finished it like 3 weeks ago, and I really enjoyed it. Why I bought this book? It's obvious. This book has been very popular for like several years. This is like a hint of dark academia, a hint of like sad, crazy woman, unhinged woman type, and we have a cult in this. So all the three things I really like: unhinged, sad woman, yes please. Dark academia, yes please. Cult, exactly, sign me in. So this book sounded very good. This is about a group of girls that call them bunnies, and they're like very girly. They do like, they dressed up in a very funny way. They are very like loving to each other. They're always like complimenting each other, and they're a clique. So those 4 women are a clique, and they go to a university together. I think it was the Warren University, yeah. And we have our character Samantha. Samantha also goes to school with them. They're all in this literature program, but she feels like an outcast because in their workshop, those 4 girls are bunnies and they're always together, but she is not with them. So she gets an invite to attend one of their workshops, and she gets to be a bunny. But things are actually very weird, very bizarre in this book. You do not understand if things are real or not, or like whether we can actually trust our main character. So it is a fun little read. I really enjoyed it. I really liked the ending and like finally wrapping my head around what actually happens in the book. So that made me feel very nice about reading this. And overall, I really enjoyed it, and I think it has a beautiful cover. I really like covers that have bunnies in them. Going on with the unhinged woman theme, we have My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Otessa Mushbek. So everybody knows about this book. It has been very popular on BookTube, Book Talk, whatever social media platform you're using that has like communities on books. They're all recommending this. So I haven't read this book yet, but I really want to. I started reading my ebook, but I stopped for some reason. I don't know why, so I just decided to buy it. And once again, the colors on the cover and like the painting itself, it is just very pretty. It's a very pretty book, and I really like this type of like neon pink they use. I think it's very pretty. But anyways, in this book we are following a woman who is a Columbia graduate. I'm sorry, I got kind of focused in here. And she lives a perfect life. She's rich. She just got graduated from one of the like best schools in the United States. She has her life together, but she doesn't feel happy. And she's very sad, and she decides that for the next year she's not gonna do anything. She's just gonna take some pills and have a year of rest and relaxation. So we kind of see this woman who presumably has a perfect life go through this like change, and in a way try to figure out what her life actually means and what is she doing with her life. So I think this is another perfect example of unhinged woman. I am very, very excited to read this book very soon. On with our unhinged woman team. Next up we have Luster by Revan Levani. So this book is also a great example of unhinged women in their 20s trying to figure out what the hell is actually happening with their lives. So this is a very recurring theme for me as a woman who is in her 20s. I hope I'm not unhinged, but we are all unhinged in our actual minds. So this is kind of like can this be called a subgenre? I don't know, but like if we can, this is one of my favorites. So in this book we are following Eddie. She is a woman in her 20s and she's just trying to navigate through her life. I think she gets involved with a married couple and is just trying to figure out what happens and trying to find a place in this world for herself. So this was actually, I feel like, one of Barack Obama's favorite books, so that is something to consider if you're interested in that. But I'm also interested in reading this book because, as I said, this theme is something I really like. And even though I actually do not enjoy contemporaries, I feel like I'm gonna be liking this three that I have. Bunny has like a magical element in it, but these two do not have any, so we'll see whether I struggle with that, whether I dislike that or not. Next up we have again something I've read, but I read that in a webtoon format, and that is Limpus by Rachel Smythe. So I think like Lore Olympus is the most well-known webcomics in the world, like one of the most well-known, and I really like Lore Olympus. I've been like reading Lore Olympus before the books actually got published on webtoon, and I really like it. I really like the art style. I really like the colors, especially like the pinks, purples, and blues they use. You can have a debate on whether the actual story of Hades and Persephone should be like portrayed in this way or not, but I think if we have a story material that is actually disturbing, changing it to something that can be enjoyed while actually knowing that the real story is based on like these type of themes, or like something like some bad things happen. I think like if you can accept that that was the real story and that was like the real retelling that we are based on, I think we can enjoy this. So I do not think like we can, I mean, you can judge whoever you want, but I personally do not want to be the person that can judge Rachel Smythe because she changed the story. I think like she has the story because like Persephone and Hades retellings are very, very common, especially like within this like 5 years. They have been used over and over again in books, and I really enjoy them because Persephone and like Hades as characters, it's funny to call them characters because at some point to some people they were like gods, but as characters I think they have a unique story and I really like reading about them. So I think this is a good retelling. This is a retelling because it is not based on what really happened, and I enjoy that we are having something different. But in this world we have Persephone and Hades. Persephone comes to the Mount Olympus and she is a young goddess, doesn't know about her powers. She just wants to be successful. She is very like school oriented. She just wants to be successful as she always been. She just wants to be this perfect daughter for her mother. And she gets to the Olympus, meets Hades, and everything gets messed up and they fall in love, and like very nice and also bad things happen to both of them. So I don't want to spoil much because I think it's a very fun read, and one of the reasons why I really like Lore Olympus is that I find myself in Persephone. I don't know like how similar we are or like how real this is, but I can really relate to her character in this book not the Persephone in real life, obviously. And I think like some scenes really shock me because I'm like, this is me. Like, I don't know, it's something emotional. I think like I really have a personal attachment to Persephone, so that's why I really like Limpus. And at the same time, this has been a comic that I actually read with my boyfriend, so it's something like fun we do together. We discuss the episodes, we like read them together. We even have like stickers of them that we send each other in our chats. So it's a fun little read. You should check it out if you did not. And like the art style is very beautiful. I just want to show you something like pink and purplish, but like it's just very beautiful. And like, as I think there are 4 volumes out as of now, or like the 3rd volume is out and the 4th is gonna be out. And like as we progress through the story, the artwork gets like more and more and more beautiful, in my opinion. So yeah, this was Limpus volume 1. Going on with retellings and mythology, we have Susan Clarke's Peril. So I really wanted to buy this book because I want to generally have a greater understanding of mythology and retellings. I've read Song of Achilles recently. I really enjoyed it, and I really like mythology. When I was like 4 years old, I would play with my dad a game called Age of Mythology. It was like a strategy war game with like mythological elements in it, and I really enjoyed that. And since then, I've been really interested in understanding mythology and reading stories about it. Like Percy Jackson series has been like one of my favorite. I feel like it was my favorite series when I was growing up. In this book, we are following our character called Peril, and I think he is stuck in a house that is like magical, that includes a vast ocean in it. And he has been alone in this house for a very long time, except for one being that is called the Other. So I think this book is about kind of like just trying to come up with the terms with being alone, while also exploring themes of mental illnesses and just like the magical realism of it. I do not know much about it, so I believe I'm doing a very bad job of giving you a synopsis right now, but I'm very excited. I think this is like a different twist on the retellings or like mythological themed books we have. Instead of just like focusing on the heroes and like big stories, we have a more subtle and beautifully written story here. Next up, we have House of Hello by Crystal Sutherland. So this is again kind of like a magical realism fantasy elements book, and this is kind of like creepy, bizarre, but also a fun read. So in this book, we are following Iris and her 2 sisters who actually been, I think, like kidnapped when they were young. They disappeared for months and then they came back, but they were never the same. So they, after getting back to their house, they are just trying to go back to normal, just live their normal lives, go to graduate school, and try to live their life as if nothing happened. But again, supernatural beings find them, and they are forced to explore what happened to them years ago and just try to see what they can do with their lives. I think this is gonna be like a kind of like a dark, creepy, fun, I want to say fun read, and I'm excited to be getting into this. Moving into my favorite subgenre, that is dark academia, and we have Catherine House by Elizabeth Thomas. So first of all, can we appreciate this cover that I really like? I think it is stunning. Do we have anything underneath? No, we don't, but it's stunning. So this is a dark academia book that is set in a remote university that is very prestigious and that is well known for like teaching Supreme Court justices, presidents, very important people. And if you're lucky enough to get accepted in the school, you go to this remote school and you do not have contact with anyone for the duration of your studies. So in this story, we have Inez, who is very excited to be accepted in this school. She really feels at home here. She feels like she belongs. She really enjoys what she's doing. but then she begins to understand maybe the school, the Catherine house itself, is not what it seems. Maybe they're actually hiding a secret agenda, and she's trying to figure out what is actually happening in this house. So it has like gothic, mysterious elements in it with dark academia twist, and I'm very excited. Like, I'm excited to read all of these books, but dark academia is something very special to me, so I should really start reading this book. Next up, we have the book I am currently reading and enjoying it so much, and that is Babble by R.F. Kuang. So this book is dark academia at its best, at its chorus, because I think it's very important to understand while we are reading dark academia that academia has been and continues to be a very racist, very elitist institution. So while we are reading dark academia, like books like Secret History, I think it's important to understand the criticism there instead of just glamorizing dark academia. And obviously, when we're talking about academia, it's so easy to make it something that is like very glamorized, which I also do, because as someone who is a student and loves studying, loves learning, I think it's so much easier to just like glamorize your life being a student and feel like you're doing something good for your society and for yourself too. It's actually easier to neglect the mental illness elements of it, how it can actually make you stressed, how it can make you sad. Like, people have been through like lots of trauma and stress because of being in the academia itself, and there have been people that have been excluded from being in academia and just the pursuit of knowledge and learning. So I think this book does an amazing job touching on those issues. In this book, we're following a character called Robin, who has been taken from his hometown in China to the Oxford University to study translation there. Because in this world, we have a magic system called silver binding that is actually rooted in translation, and you need to be able to use languages to make this magic system work. So the Oxford University and the British Empire really much puts the emphasis on language learning and translation, and we have this department or like a school within the Oxford University called Babble that precisely focuses on this. So Robin is taken into this world. He feels like he's been doing something very important. He really feels like he belongs here after years of being in, I think, London as a foreign person. So he feels like he belongs, but at the same time he comes to realize that he is helping the British Empire follow their colonialistic pursuits. So he has this like dilemma of belonging and feeling like you're achieving something, you're doing something good for yourself, and at the same time this realization that you are actually helping this empire go and hurt other people, go hurt other countries. So I think this is like a very good example of dark academia with fantasy elements in it, and also type of like a historical fiction model in that. If you have not read this book yet, you should, especially if you enjoy dark academia. Right, last but not least, we have a very different book from the others here, because it's a non-fiction political science book that is called The Return of Great Power Rivalry: Democracy versus Autocracy from the Ancient World to the US and China by Matthew Korenick. So I am a political science and economics major, and I really like reading about political science. I have some nonfiction books that are focused on various historical and political, also sometimes economics elements in it, and I really enjoy them. So I went around the town to see and explore the little libraries we have, and I found this big book in one of those little libraries, and when I saw it I was very interested in, because I'm taking a globalization and crisis class right now, and the major theme we've been exploring is just this great power rivalry and like power balance, just like realism and how we actually understand the world order we have. And this has been like something that I have been talked about a lot, whether the great power rivalry is coming back or it actually left. And I'm someone who I think like argues that it actually didn't leave because as country, okay, I don't understand why I am trying to give you this argument right now, but yeah, so as someone who thinks that great rivalry actually never left and geopolitics have been playing an important role in the world order and politics we have right now, I'm very interested in reading what this author has to say. And with that, we have concluded our haul for the month of September. I think I have around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 books. I bought 12 books in a month. Do I regret it? No. Am I gonna regret it once I try to carry all of these books back home with me? Yes. But that's a concern for the future me. Right now, I'm very happy with my books and I'm excited to start reading and completing all of the books that I have. I hope to see you soon in another video, and please do take care.